Something special.
Hi friends, welcome back or welcome to Friends in High Places podcast. On today's episode, it's a very special episode. I have Markules, aka Papa Merk, aka Moose, aka my father-in-law on the pod. What's up?
Hi.
We have Cole here too. We thought it would be fun if the three of us did an episode together.
I'm just ad-libbing in the background, but I'm here.
And yeah, so we're just gonna chat a little bit about Mark, and we did one with Ma Dukes, and I thought it would be fun to do one with Mark and chat about just his life story and his experience of being Cole's father, and yeah, just so everyone can get to know him. So one thing that I think is really cool that Mark and I realized when Cole and I first got together is that we both at one point lived in Red Deer. He was born there. And so it was funny because his mom, Cole's grandma, used to tell us a story about when they lived in Red Deer, there was only one stoplight there.
I don't remember.
And how long did you guys live in Red Deer for?
I think 6 months. I really don't know.
Yeah, so
it wasn't long.
Yeah, so just like Brenda, he was a Air Force baby or Air Force brat.
Yeah.
So their family moved all over the place, all different countries. You guys?
No, I stayed in Canada.
Yeah, you didn't go to Europe.
No.
That's where Gary your
was born in Europe.
older
Yes.
brother. Yeah. So yeah, that was a pretty cool, similar life event that we had. Was living in Red Deer, little Red Deer, Alberta. Obviously, when I lived there, it was a lot bigger, but it was always cool to hear Papa and Grandma's stories about living there. And yeah, so do you want to tell everyone what it was like to be an Air Force baby? And
The thing I remember about it was you moved around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just start to get settled in a place, get a group of friends, and all of a sudden, boom, you're off somewhere else.
right.
Which is traumatic, but also at the same time, it teaches you how to deal with people
For
a
sure.
lot quicker. Right?
Yeah. Kind of teaches you how to get to know people kind of quicker, and
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. You had friends all over. I mean, back then there wasn't Facebook or social media that you can keep in touch with everybody.
No, and you don't really keep in touch with people.
Right.
You know, because back then there was nothing to do that with other
Yeah.
than the phone, which was too expensive.
Yeah, exactly. And so then you grew up on the island.
After grade 5, I think, yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you were in small town Courtney.
Yep.
Yeah. And what was it like growing up there?
It was good. I liked it. I couldn't think of a better place to grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like that small town feel?
Yeah, I like that, and also like the outdoors. There's lots to do there. You can go golf and skiing all in the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And you did that a lot when you were younger with ski, right?
Yeah. I worked on Mount Washington for 3 years, and I skied just about every day when I was up there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. So
Yeah.
how long were you working at Mount Washington?
3 seasons.
Oh, 3
Yeah.
seasons, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And yeah, it was funny because when Brenda was on the podcast, we talked about how you guys actually went to school together but didn't really know each other at that point.
That would be like on the base, grade 3, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really crazy. And then later on in life, you guys met up and got together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually knew each other quite some time, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. And so one thing I wanted to ask you was, what's like one of your favorite childhood stories with like Papa and Grandma, or just like growing up on the island and in Courtney?
Papa and Grandma. There was the time we all went out for lunch down by the beach, and my brother and I were sitting on one side of the table, and they were sitting on the other side of the table, and my brother and I decided to run off and go play, so we jumped up from the table, and the whole table flipped.
Oh my
And Grandma got completely covered in strawberries.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. Grandma,
that-
was she pissed?
No, not at all.
No,
She took
she's
it very
laughing.
well.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
What about chasing the truck?
Oh yeah, the tomato or onion.
Oh, when we first arrived here,
Yeah.
like we didn't know anybody, anything. We were staying in this little motel. I don't know what it was called. It was across from the CRA.
Yeah.
And Gary and I, we looked over and we saw parachutists.
Right.
So it looked like they were close to us. So we started heading over to see these parachutists on what was then Farquharson Farms.
Yeah.
And we It ended up being way long. And we got there and watched the parachutists land, and then we headed back, and it was hours and hours. And a truck rolled by, and some onions fell off this truck, and we grabbed these onions, and it was like we were carrying these prizes home to Mom and Dad. But when we got there, we didn't realize that they had missed us for about 4 hours, and they were very angry.
Worried and angry.
Yes.
Where
yes.
have you been?
Yeah, they didn't appreciate the onions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny when you're kids, things that are in a distance seem like they're so much closer, and like you could just walk right across the field to it, and all of a sudden it's way
And
further away.
They're like, we don't know anybody here. There's a river right there. They could be drowned. But,
oh, for sure.
losing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember you telling that story quite a few times, and Papa and Grandma being a part of it, and that was really funny.
What about Papa jumping off the roof? That's a good one too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my father is, we had a really bad winter, and there was a lot of snow on the roof, so me, my brother, and my father went up on the roof to shovel it off.
Yeah.
And we got it all shoveled off, and then Dad says to Gary, go ahead and jump. Gary looked, he jumped.
Yeah.
And then he says to me, jump. And I'm like, I don't know, that's pretty far down there. And he says, come on, don't be a pussy, jump. And I'm like, I don't know, that's a long ways. He says, jump. So I jumped.
Yeah.
Took us half an hour to talk him down.
Sitting there calling you a pussy, and then he's too scared.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Well,
And it's funny because I just can't even see Papa like saying that or acting like that, because I know Papa, little old tendy Papa, right? So,
no, it wasn't the same guy.
yeah.
Or what about that time he told you guys that you could stay out, but you weren't coming back in?
Oh, that was in northern Quebec. We were stationed in a little base called Parent. And we said that we were quite young. We said to him that we wanted to stay out. And he says, no, it's time to come in. And we said, no, we wanted to stay out all night. And he said, fine, you can stay out all night.
Yeah.
Right? So we went over to the rec center, it was called. It was like the swimming pool and
Right.
the gym and all that. We were hanging out there about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and all of a sudden there's Papa. He said, I said outside. So, okay, so we're outside and it's really cold. I mean, this is northern Quebec.
Yeah.
And so the door's unlocked on his car. So we get into his car and we close the doors.
Yeah, we got a nice place.
It's
Yeah.
all right here. And all of a sudden the door opens. I said outside. So out we go. And then it deteriorates to the point that we're under the porch. And there's like, it's open to the elements and it's cold and the wind's blowing. And finally I caved first. I was the youngest. I said, I got to go inside. I knocked at the door and he let me in. And about 10, 11 minutes later, my brother caved and he went in too. But yeah.
He made sure you got that lesson of, nope, you want to stay outside, you're staying
Exactly,
outside. You're not going
exactly.
into any shelter or anything.
It
You
was
want to be little
cold.
brats? Yeah.
I've been on tour in northern Manitoba before, and it's extremely cold out there.
Exactly.
For the people listening that are just like, oh yeah, I'm sure it was cold. No, this isn't cold. This is like freezing
Well,
cold.
this was northern Quebec.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said though, a lot of people listening might not understand how
Yeah.
cold that really is.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's freezing out there. But yeah.
Yeah. So you did high school and graduated in Courtney?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you worked at the ski hill, and then where else did you work?
I worked at St. Joseph's Hospital for 10 years, from the time I was 15 till I was 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was janitor there.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. And then you met Brenda when you were, well, sorry, you guys started dating.
Oh God, we were 20. We were in our 30s.
Yeah, I was going to say like
Yeah,
30, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and so then she was in Vancouver, so you'd have to travel over there to go see her.
Well, I started dating her here, but yes, she moved to Vancouver, and then
Right.
I started traveling. Oh, I know where you're going.
How did you originally meet Mom though?
Oh, I met. She went out with a friend of mine.
Through
Yeah,
friends,
that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. So when you went to go visit Ma Dukes on the mainland for the first time,
Yeah,
in big
well,
old Vancouver.
Yeah, I was like a country boy in the big city, and I think I had to take I had to take the ferry over and then take a bus, I think.
Yeah.
And she said to get off at this such and such a street corner. I had to tell the bus driver to tell me where to get off, and I got off, and I'm standing there and I'm looking around and I'm thinking, what if she doesn't show? It's like, I'm lost.
I don't know where the hell I am.
I don't know anything. Unbeknownst to me, she's standing across on the other corner where I can't see her, watching me and just killing herself laughing. Yeah, it's funny now, but it wasn't that funny then.
A little nervous, a little pissed off. What the fuck? Did
I'm
she
like,
even
yeah,
come?
what do I do if she doesn't show up?
Yeah.
Like,
Where do I go?
country boy in the big city.
Yeah, exactly. And then you moved over to the mainland when?
Shortly after that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you started working,
At Pacific Press.
right, the
The
newspaper.
newspaper,
Yes, yeah.
As a head of the janitors or whatever. Head
Right.
of building services, yeah.
Yeah. And then you guys got married, and then
We got married before that, actually, yes.
before you moved over to the
Yeah,
mainland. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Sweet. Okay. And then along came Mr. Cole.
Mr. Cole. He wasn't
Mr.
Mr. Cole then.
So how did you feel when you found out that you were going to have a son?
Oh, well, I didn't know it was going to be a boy. We didn't.
But Brenda had a feeling.
Yeah, she had a feeling,
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
His mom's story is that as soon as she got pregnant, she knew she was pregnant.
And she told me that.
Without
Yeah.
a test.
Yeah.
And not only that, but she didn't even think of any girls' names because in her head it was like, I just knew it was going to be a boy. No questions asked. And that was just a thing, which I find is really cool because mom's always been super spiritual and like just, you know what I mean? Like one of those kind of people. But I just find that crazy to think.
Yeah, no, she knew without a doubt.
Yeah.
Mom didn't need a gender reveal party.
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah, exactly. So, like when you were younger and you pictured yourself like getting married and having children.
No, when I was younger, I didn't picture myself getting married.
No.
No.
Or having kids.
Not really, no.
No.
No,
Back
I
then it was like you had to be married to have kids
I was,
almost, right?
shall we say, a bit of a party animal, and I didn't want
Oh,
anything to do with
party
that.
animal. Woohoo.
What was your name at the local disco?
No, we're not going to go there.
Oh. Yeah, we'll keep that one to ourselves. But so I guess having an only child wasn't really, because like I said to ask Brenda, you know, if you ever, did you ever want more children or did you picture yourself having more children?
I did. After we had Cole, I wanted to have another one, but we had a discussion and decided we were lucky to, like, we were fairly old. by that
Exactly,
time.
yeah.
And your chances of having a Down syndrome baby or something like that increase with the older you get.
Right.
And plus, yeah. So
So you stuck with the one.
we're quite happy we stuck with the one
Yeah.
now.
In
Yeah.
retrospect, I put you
Yes.
through the ringer.
Yes.
So in your opinion, or from your experience, I guess I should say, what was it like raising an only child? Like what did...
Didn't really.
Raising an only child, that's not fair, because raising an only child, I'm sure, is fine for most people, but we had a whirlwind.
Yeah.
We didn't have a child, we had a whirlwind. And it was like something happening, and it was just like
It was a lot.
you were bombarded all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then as he got older,
But what do you
friends-
mean by that, though? Like bombarded?
Well, you are quite a force, and
No, I'm a lot to deal with, and I still am to this day. But I mean, like, I just mean in the sense that even though I was an only child, you guys took care of all my friends and took my friends and almost as their own, as your own too.
Yeah.
Because they had a lot of really tough lives and stuff too, right?
well,
So-
yeah. But that wasn't why. It's just raising you. That was part of the
yeah.
picture.
And I made
Yeah.
you guys feel like shit for a while there about me being an only child because everybody else had brothers and sisters, and I was like, why don't I have a brother or a sister? And I remember at one point you guys were even considering adoption.
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Anything
you
to-
wanted a sibling so bad.
Anything
Yeah.
to shut you up.
But I remember that clearly. Like, even I know I was really young, but I do remember being
Oh.
like, why don't I have a brother or sister and everybody else does? Mm-hmm. Can we adopt one? Which never ended up happening, thank God, probably in retrospect. But
we
Yeah. You were
we
enough.
only had so much energy, and you were absorbing a lot of it.
all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you wanted more.
Yeah. So what about like raising a child with mental health issues? Because Cole's always struggled with his mental health, and from being the father point of view, like how is that in your eyes? Like, if you could give some advice to somebody who may be struggling with that.
Don't always listen to the doctors, would be my advice. And don't always listen to the experts. You sort of got to go with your own gut. We listened to the doctors. We gave them the drugs that they suggested, et cetera, et cetera.
All the tests.
Just threw him off completely. We tried a whole bunch of different things. We did some type of transactional or something therapy. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
Where they put his brain on a computer, basically.
Right.
And we got a lot of help from that. That was really good. We had a psychic that helped us tremendously and sort of took the guilt off us for him not going to school.
Right.
And gave us the freedom to try other things.
Yeah.
Which we did. And it looked like instead of sending him to school, we put him in studios.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And let him chase what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to pigeon box him into this hole. But we tried everything to get him to go to school,
Yes.
believe me.
Yeah.
Yes, and you want to see a work of art, you see this kid in front of the school board. He had them in the palm of his hands at 15 years old, just like, oh, they were believing everything. And then they came to take him to school the next day, and I looked out the front window as the woman's waiting for him to come out of his room. I looked, and there he is running across the front yard, like in slow motion in his gumboots. And I turned to this person from the school board and said, I don't think he's going to school.
And then there's the infamous tree.
Yeah, if you can get him out of that tree.
Yeah, he'd climb the tree whenever he didn't want to do something, and then, you'd have to wait till he came down, which could be hours.
I was pretty stubborn when it came to that tree.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So when it came to like Cole telling you guys that he wanted to do music and that's what he wanted to pursue, like what?
Part of
what
that
did you feel?
transactional therapy, or whatever it was called, was they told us that, first of all, they told us he was incredibly intelligent, which I still argue with to this day. But fuck off. They told us that being ADD, with his intelligence and the fact that he would always think outside the box, that companies everywhere were looking for somebody that would think outside the box. But unfortunately, there's this thing that society demands you get through first called school.
Right.
They also told us that he was highly subject to addiction. Right? So they said the secret for him was to get him addicted to his work.
Right.
Which we didn't really do that. All we did was when he told us music was his thing, we gave him everything we could.
For sure.
And I mean, I was a fan of music since I was a kid. Like, I was dressed up all gangster whenever all the other kids were at school in like frickin' Mickey Mouse outfits and shit.
The hip hop connection.
The Hip Hop Connection, for those that are listening, was a store in Metrotown, Vancouver. For anybody that's been to Vancouver probably knows what Metrotown is. It's one of the biggest malls, and there's this store called Hip Hop Connection, and I would visit it frequently when I was a kid, and I'd always beg my parents to take me there. And I'd walk in there, and I'd know all the lingo. I'd know all the new albums that had just come out, all the music that everyone was listening to that were twice my age and older. And I was just like the young kid. I was like literally
You were really young.
I was
really
like
young.
10, 11.
No, less than that. 7.
I was like 7 years old.
Exactly.
And I'd walk in there with like a bandana on, with baggy pants on. I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, what's good? Like, yo, did that new Eminem drop, or whoever, and probably not Eminem, but whoever it was at the time. And they were just, everybody at the store was blown away that this little kid knew all this stuff. And my parents kind of just played the background and let me do my thing, walk in there. And yeah, so I'd always been a fan of rap specifically. But yeah, I just mean like later on in life you found out that it was music I wanted to pursue. But
And I'd say the way that I guess you kind of helped motivate him to get addicted to doing music was you guys did the late night studio sessions. You and Brenda would drive him to studios and stay in your vehicles until 4 a.m. while he was recording.
Yeah, but it wasn't
And-
just that. He's out in the backyard having a smoke with these guys, Manic and Hellenbeck,
yeah,
right?
Shout out.
And we're sitting out in the curb in the car at 4 a.m. She has to go to work.
at this point
7.
I'm like, what age? Like 14,
Oh, at
15?
this point you're probably 15, 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has to go to work at 7:30 and get up at 7:30 and go to work, right?
Ma Dukes does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're sitting there at 4 a.m. on the curb waiting for him, and we seen them come out. So wait, they're finished,
They're done,
right?
yeah,
But no,
finally.
they're just having a smoke, right? And he's sitting there having a smoke with them, and he sees us, and he pretends that we're not there, and he's talking to these guys about his right hand reaches behind him, and he gives us this wave motion, like
Like, get out of
get
here.
lost.
Hide yourselves.
Exactly.
Also,
It wasn't cool to have your parents at the
No,
studio.
we used to
Oh,
have to
no.
walk 6 paces behind.
they
them.
could have
my
came right on in,
God.
but it was me saying, I don't want to be seen here with my parents.
Exactly.
Also, I just want to
Exactly.
take a moment to say shout out to Helen Back and Manic, but Helen Back is going through some health complications right now, so I do want to say that if you do hear this, that you're in my prayers and my family's prayers,
Yes.
and we're thinking about you. So
Yeah. So what about when Cole dropped out of school to do music?
that was
Did-
before that, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did others judge you? Did you get...
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Also the fact that we had all the kids at our place, so
Right.
we were the bad guys, right?
Right. Right.
Me, you know, like we heard back from, you know, you always hear what's going on from different people,
Of
right,
course,
et cetera,
yeah.
et cetera, and like I look at it now and I think, there you go, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that all those kids that were at our place were not being very well taken care of in their own homes.
Right.
Most of them, not all.
Right.
Not all.
Not all.
Yeah,
No, that's
let's
not
make
fair.
that clear. But
But a lot of them needed a safe place.
yeah, and my parents lived by the theory that if they had them over at our place and we were all there doing our thing, at least we're not in the street causing trouble
Yeah,
where we could be
that's basically
potentially
what it
Yeah.
was.
potentially at more danger. So
And then it started to warp as he got into music because we'd have all these musicians sleeping on my
They're-
couches and floors.
since people are listening and not watching, there was definitely finger quotes involved.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. I would have to step over the musicians on my way to work every morning, right?
The bodies of the passed
Yes,
out
exactly.
teenagers.
And let's also make it clear, it wasn't just teenagers. It was anywhere,
Yeah.
anybody from the age
Oh, you always
15
hung out
to
with
like,
older people.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Always hung out with older people.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
One story that I think would be funny to tell is when Cole got very intoxicated for one of the first times and you had to go pick him up. And he was hanging out with a tree. let's
Somebody
say.
phoned
Me
us.
and those trees, I swear.
Somebody phoned us and said, you'd better come down to the corner of such and such because your son's down here and he's not feeling very good. And I said, what are you talking about? He's in bed. And he says, no, he's here. And I go down to his room and of course he's not there.
Yeah.
And so we go down there and we're looking around, we don't see anything. And then we just happen to glance over on the curb, the little grass strip.
This is the boxes, by the way,
Yeah, it's
which
by
is
the boxes.
on my last album cover, Apply Pressure. Those are the boxes that we hung out at.
And I see a lump. And it's him. And I thought, oh my God, he's dead.
Yeah.
And I walked over and I seriously did not know what was going on. And
Yeah.
I rolled him over and the smell of vomit and alcohol hit me in the face.
Ugh.
And I would, no, it was good though, because he was alive.
Right, yes, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And one of his, the guy that called us just happened to walk by and he
course.
helped us get him home, etc.
Shout out to Ryan Johnson.
Yes, exactly.
We were
But
definitely
weren't you
drinking
like
together.
making out with a tree that night? Or
Yeah, so what
eating
happened was
tree?
this. I'll put this in point form for everybody listening. So there was this one cabinet that was in the same room actually that we would record music in. At this point, I wasn't even recording yet really, but in the same room that we would all hang out in, that everybody would frequent at our place. There was this little drawer, and it would always be locked. And we had found a way to get inside of this locked cabinet, basically.
You
that
broke
had
the lock off.
Well, yeah, we broke it, and then of course. Unbeknownst to me, I don't realize because I'm the younger guy going to hang out with the older guys that they don't want to drink vodka. They're older guys. They want to drink whiskey and rum. So I show up with this bottle of vodka thinking I'm going to get all the praise. And they're like, oh, we don't drink vodka. That's for girls. And I'm thinking, well, fuck me. And so I took the vodka and I drank it myself. And because when you're younger and you haven't had bad experiences with alcohol yet, even though it tastes like shit, something about it isn't as bad as when you have had bad experiences with it, so it goes down a lot easier.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what I was doing. I wanted to look like
Comes up easy.
no, I know, but I wanted to look like the cool guy in front of all the older guys, so I ended up drinking the whole bottle of vodka in I'm thinking 10 minutes max, and it was a 2-6, so it was quite a bit. It wasn't like a Mickey or anything. A fifth for everybody in the States listening. It was about 2 of those. Anyway, so I drank it. Of course, I started acting a fool. I have no idea why I started making out with a tree. And then
That tree is still there.
and then I started. For some reason, I was biting the tree. I have no idea why. I was blackout hammered, And every time we go back to the old neighborhood that I grew up in, we actually visit that tree, and you can still see my teeth marks in it, which is hilarious. But that's what happened. And then, of course, after that, I got so blacked out that I ended up passing out. And it was my friend who called my house phone to say, hey, like, somebody's got to come get him because he's that messed up. But that's how it all went down.
Yeah. I had to bring up the tree part because it's just... Wow.
Yeah, like I said, something about me and those trees. I'm either climbing up them or I'm making out with them. I don't fucking know.
Exactly. So when he was in this like rebellious stage, that lasted quite a while.
Still in this rebellious stage.
It, yes. But when he was younger and in it, the starting of it all, did you think that he was going to end up to be where he is today?
We always knew something was gonna. We didn't know, like, even before music, we didn't know what it was gonna be, but we knew that he was headed for something.
Right, he was put on this planet
as a
for
kid,
a reason.
watching this kid, he absorbed things incredibly well. He seemed to, as the neighbor across the street said to us when he first met him, that kid's been here before.
Yeah.
He always absorbed everything incredibly well and could spit it right back at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you remember the moment that you heard, and you don't have to remember the exact song or whatever, but when you heard one of Cole's songs and was like, whoa, like this
No, it was before that. It was an English class, and we actually went to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had an older English teacher, I think it was grade 8, and when he had his problems with school and he left school, she was the only one that took us aside and said, it's the intelligent ones that usually go for early. Right, but we saw some of his writings and stuff, and I recognized right away that he had something.
Yeah.
He had an ability to show rather than tell.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, and that's what he does in his lyrics too. He shows, or he'll take you down into somebody's story without telling you. He shows you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I think I dropped out in grade 8, right?
Yes.
It's because I've actually made songs where I say I dropped out in grade 10.
No, it was
and then
grade
it was just because it was so long ago that I thought it was grade 10,
Yeah.
but I guess it was grade 8, that I dropped out. So for anybody listening to this and being like, oh, well, in that song you said grade 10, that's why. I just wasn't aware.
And don't drop out when you're young.
Yeah,
Stay
that's
in
not
school.
to say that. I think personally that and I know you agree with me on this, Dad, but I think that it's unfair for millions of kids to go to school and all be taught the same. I think that everybody is special in their own right, and I think that everybody learns a certain way, a different way, and I don't think it's fair for teachers to walk in. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really good teachers out there, but I don't think it's fair for the school system to assume that every kid should be taught the same way.
Well, they can't be taught the same way.
No.
Exactly, it's literally impossible.
And that's what that thing we sent you to, where you put your brain on a
they
computer,
showed you that.
They showed us this way to teach you. We took it to school board, and they just said no.
Yeah, because that's too much work for them.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then we tried that home thing. We tried everything.
Yeah.
Well, you tried everything, I should say, but... What are you going to say, Boots?
Well, I was just going to say that, it was the same for me in school. Like, I did not do very well in school. I passed, but I didn't learn like the other kids do. I couldn't pick up on things like the other kids do. So I agree, not every person or child can learn the same way.
Well, think about it. If school was to work the way they've set it up, we'd all end up with the same individual doing the same things.
100%. Yeah.
Et cetera, right?
Yeah.
Very
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big facts.
I look at things like social studies now, and it's so funny because like I never paid attention to social studies, but then I've been to all those places.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like now my career and then the path that I followed actually brought me to all these places that I was supposed to learn about then, but you learn by actually going there and being there. I'm not to say that everybody's blessed enough that they're going to get to see all these places, but I just found that kind of ironic later on in life, like all these classes where they're teaching you about these places I got to experience now because I'm a traveling musician, which was really cool.
Yeah, and it's cool because you're learning as an adult about the history, about these places.
Let me say this though, okay? Like with Cole, it could have gone either way. It's very fortunate that it went this way.
Right.
And he's very successful now, et cetera, but it could have gone the other way just as easily. And everybody knows the story about his scars, et cetera, and that's what, while it's an extremely traumatic event,
that was my wake-up
it's
call.
what did it.
And we haven't really dived into the other stuff I was doing. Like I was out stealing cars, being dumb with all my friends, and unfortunately a lot of the people that I grew up around are either in jail now or addicted to drugs, or some of them even dead. And so, like, to my dad's point, I think that him saying it could go either way, luckily that incident that happened with my stabbing woke me up and kind of showed me, okay, this is the wake-up call you need, but if that didn't happen, I might not have necessarily changed, and I could have been either in jail or with,
Yeah.
or on drugs on Hastings, like some of the people I grew up around or whatever, right? So it's definitely a blessing in disguise, and people know that. They've heard me say that before, but it's truly the truth.
So me and Ma Dukes talked about it, the experience of Cole getting stabbed and that night. What about you? When you think of that night, like, do you even believe that it was real? Like, I mean, obviously you were
it was
there.
more real. Of course it was real, absolutely.
But
what I remember about it from a personal viewpoint is if they had put the person in front of me, I would have killed them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not kidding. I would
I
have
believe
torn
you.
them apart.
Yeah.
And I've never experienced that feeling before.
Yeah.
But I would have killed them.
Yeah.
In fact, I turned to everybody that was there and said, "Who did this?"
Yeah.
And one of the kids' father said, No, it's not like that, right?"
Yeah.
But seriously.
For sure. Well, that's your baby boy.
Yeah,
Really, at the end of the day, that's your child, and that's crazy.
And he was such a cute baby. What happened?
If I could count on both hands how many times he's kicked that joke off air today,
I know.
I'd
it's
run out of
true.
fingers.
It's cute.
You're the epitome of dad jokes. Like, you really. Anyway, sorry.
He's a dad. He's allowed to have dad jokes.
Back to what you guys were saying though.
So after that happened, obviously that's where Cole's mental health took a real turn, and so
No, I don't agree. Well, yeah, but he was having big problems before that.
for sure. But like the
With his
depression
ADD, et cetera.
and not being able to leave the house.
No, it wasn't. It was PTSD, is what it
Yeah.
was. He would jump up and looking at
Which
the
is
window.
depression.
It kind of turned into
It made me
depression,
depressed,
right?
too, yeah.
And so
And I still thought I was a tough guy at that time, so I might not have been vocal about the fact that it was also depression.
For
'Cause
sure.
I didn't want to look like a quote unquote pussy. You know what I mean?
yeah, but that's just like when, other things started happening, like his addiction to alcohol. So being his father and watching him go through this, like, I can't even imagine what that felt like, because he was going through PTSD. So to deal with that, kind of numbing the pain with alcohol and making music too, right?
And food.
And food, yeah,
And no exercise whatsoever.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he put on a ton of weight there.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing, and like I've said this before, but not only was I numbing it with alcohol, but I was drinking 40 ounces of Old English every day.
Yeah.
And that was my
Instead of meals.
And it's like malt liquor, which is like literally the worst thing for your health. It's the cheapest thing in the store. And mom, I mean, God bless her, but I mean, mom just wanted to be motherly and be there for me. And I was eating fucking whatever I asked mom to make for supper. And I was drinking beer and not getting
And your
exercise.
friends were eating us out of house and home.
And of course, my friends were eating us out of house and home too. But I just mean, like, my health was, my physical health was the last thing on my mind. And then it caught up to me fast.
Yep.
But yeah, it was definitely a crazy situation.
Yeah, and
But at the same time, you were making music.
yeah,
We had you in the studio all the time,
yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, all those things added up.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And so what about when he was like, I'm gonna start touring and we need your vehicle to go do a tour
That
with?
never really phased us at all. It was sure. Yeah.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Yeah.
We'll see you when you get home.
Yeah, I'll kill you after you wreck
Yeah.
the car.
We were just talking about an incident before we started recording too, where my dad came home and there was a cop there at the house, and a cop came knocking on our door. I think it was
No,
just
I arrived from work and the cop was already there.
yeah. And I'll let you finish because that was so long ago for me,
Yeah.
but it's a funny story.
And
sure.
like, I had a breezy attitude, which I use in situations like that. Okay, what do you do this time, right? And the
Yeah.
cop goes, and Cole, I think, was in the house by then.
Right.
He said, nothing. He said, there was something about the guy across the street or something. It was nothing.
Right.
No
Nothing to do
problem
with
at
him.
all. He said, but he sure got it down pat. I said, why? What do you mean? He says, well, we got out of the car and he went straight to his knees, put his hands behind his head.
Oh my god. Just a train.
I remember that time that the cop was asking you questions and I came and put a pound of bacon on his window.
Yes.
Saying
Oh
he was a
my
pig.
god.
Just like, thanks a lot.
Oh
I'm trying to smooth
my
things over with the cops, and you do that.
Yeah, and I just come out and put a pound of bacon on the window of his cop car. Like, I was the worst.
You were.
Yeah.
The fucking
You
worst.
were the worst. This is why there was no need for another child, because Cole was like 3
Exactly.
children.
Or when the cops would bring me home and you guys would act oblivious.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh man.
Like, he would never. They said, did you know that your son smokes marijuana and drinks alcohol? He would never.
No,
Not my son.
No, mother goes, you hear mom, no! Like, never!
Meanwhile, I'm smoking weed in the house right in front of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. Has pot plants.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, in the attic.
Yeah.
Jesus, I noticed this dent in the ceiling one day, and I'm like, what the hell is that? So I get the ladder, and I go up, and I push open the hatch, and it's lit up. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I stick my head up. Pot plants. And you were what, 14?
Oh yeah, about
Kid's
that.
got a fucking
Or I remember
Jordy.
Yeah, me and Jordy. Shout out Jordy. Jordy's actually Ryan Johnson's brother, and Ryan
Putting
was
you
the
on
one who
blast.
called when I got really drunk that time. Or then there was the other time that I mooned a bunch of cops when we were all drinking in a field, and they tackled me and they knocked my glasses off my face.
So what were you yelling at the cops?
Oh, I was saying fuck the police, and was
Oh my
bent
God.
over with my ass out, and they caught up to me.
Oh my God.
And then I remember I lost my glasses because they went flying, and then my dad and I had to go back to where it happened and search for my glasses, which we did end up finding.
Yeah, we found
And
it.
then we had to get them fixed.
Well, the weird part about that was when we met Brian from the record company,
Yeah,
and I was telling him that story.
Brian Shafton.
Yeah. And
Shout out.
Yeah, and he said, oh yeah, well, I had something to do with the making of that song. I helped record that with, who was the group?
Oh, you mean Fuck the Police, the record?
Yeah.
Yeah, from NWA, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which later on in life, obviously that's where I learned it, and then later on in life, end up working with the people that worked on that song
Exactly.
together. So,
Bizarre.
kind of small world situation for
Yeah.
sure. Definitely.
Oh my God.
There's actually some gems in here I don't think I've said in interviews.
Oh,
or-
I'm sure. I'm pretty sure. That's why I wanted to do these
Yeah, no, I
episodes
know.
with the parents, because people want to hear these stories.
Yes, definitely.
So then after Cole's stabbing and kind of going through those next few years, along came me, and then
Little old you.
all of a sudden Cole's moving to a
Just a
different
second.
province.
There was a long time there in between
Period
where
in
he
between.
was off the rails, shall we
Right.
say.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not done yet, apparently.
Yeah,
on
that's
this.
okay.
And-
I'm here for it.
And when you came along,
Yeah.
yeah, all of a sudden, well, you saw his music output just went through the roof,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. Like, you made a difference, okay?
Oh,
You know?
Mark, you're making me blush over here. Tandy Mark is my favorite. And then he was moving to a different province to come be with me.
Yeah, and we're going, oh, yeah, sure.
And it's not like that happened
Oh, yeah,
overnight,
sure.
though. Like, we
No.
were talking for quite a bit of time.
Yeah,
Mom
we
and Dad.
didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
So-
yeah, I'm just saying, like, it didn't happen overnight. Like, it wasn't like you and I weren't
No.
talking for a lengthy amount of time before I actually was on a tour that was
Yes.
coming to your city to
Yeah.
come meet you, right? So,
Yeah, and that's, you didn't even move to me at that point
because I had
either.
to finish the tour. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we still lived apart for about a month. But I mean, we did move in very quickly.
Definitely.
And moving in together was you moving to a whole other province away from your parents who you'd been with your entire life. Like Ma Duke
After
said.
that one night in jail.
Oh, tell that one.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're bringing these stories up, keep
How did
them
I get-
going.
Remember how you ended up in jail?
It's because I went into that person's house and.
Oh, and pull a
yeah.
knife on him, huh?
Yeah. We'll go to. We'll
Yeah,
get,
we won't get into detail.
We don't need to get
on
into
that
those
one.
details, but let's just say I did something and then I went to jail, and then I got out of jail early the next day.
No,
because
no. You didn't get out of jail
Yeah.
early the
Mark,
next day.
you tell the story.
The phone rang. I think your mother picked it up. It was the jail.
Yeah.
We didn't know where you were.
Yeah.
Right? And they, do you have a son? Blah, blah, blah. This name. Blah, 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 blah. Well, we have him here. And apparently he's telling us that he's on medication. And he absolutely has to take his medication by 6 o'clock every morning. Or
He'll get withdrawal.
which was total horseshit.
Yes.
I was on no meds at the time.
And of course, Brenda just played along. Oh, absolutely. Yes, that's true. They let him out at 6 in the morning. We had to go down and pick him up.
I just can't even, like, what kid thinks of that
Exactly.
kind of fucking story to be like, this will get me out, and
It
you
works.
know what, my Ma Dukes will have my back. Well, both my parents will have my
Yeah.
back when this phone call is made.
Yeah, no, it was a fun one for sure. But anyway, yeah, so then you and I meet. I finally get a chance to meet you. I think most people know the story of how we met
Yeah.
and how all that happened. But in your point of view, Dad, I think what Carissa's trying to say is like, what was that like for you, me moving away and not being in the same province and being that far away? You know,
Well, we immediately moved to a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah. Hallelujah. He ain't coming back.
No place to sleep.
Yeah, he's got a place now. Bye.
Make sure that couch doesn't fold out.
but all jokes aside, what was that like for you, like me being that far away and you not being used to that for the past, how old was I, 20?
Freedom.
22.
Yes.
Freedom.
Yeah, Mark's like, yeah, you take him. Have fun with that.
What did I tell you?
He's
was
your
No
problem.
return policy here.
Yeah, he's your problem now.
It was
No
definitely
return.
harder for Mom than Dad, clearly. Next question, fuck you.
But seriously, Mark always says that to me. No return policy.
Yep.
You have him now. You keep him.
And we don't want it back.
Yeah.
No, you're at my house right now, right?
That's fine, and he's always welcome.
Yeah, I know, I'm just being a
I
dick.
know. But yeah, so then I came to Vancouver shortly after, and we all met, and
Oh, yes, you were so shy.
Yeah, you were.
yeah, I was very shy. I was very nervous
Yep.
and quiet.
No.
But I mean, that was also, not to say you'd never been to Vancouver, but it was also culture shock in a way for you too, just like it was for my dad to come to the big city, the same way that it kind of was for
Oh
you.
no, it
You
was
don't think
all
so?
about me being nervous about being around your parents.
Yeah,
For
she
sure.
was.
Yeah.
She was very.
But I just
you
remember-
handled yourself very well.
Well, thank you.
I just remember going to Vancouver was like such a big deal to you then. You know
Oh,
what I
for
mean?
sure it was, but meeting your parents was an even bigger deal.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And
Just like how when I met your parents, I thought I had to put my sleeves down and cover my tattoos.
Yeah.
And I meet them and it's a complete opposite vibe of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
well, and like I said on Ma Duke's episode, it took like 10 minutes of me being being in the vehicle with you guys, and you guys
To
all
understand.
joking around and Cole swearing and making inappropriate jokes, and you guys laughing. And I'm like, oh, okay, they are fucking super chill. Like, I mean, it doesn't mean I didn't get like super comfortable right away, but I mean, didn't take long. I think,
No.
yeah, I
No.
think we all hit it off pretty quickly, and
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, it's all history. The rest is history.
In history ever since. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And you guys been all over the world now.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yep.
so crazy, and have went through some really crazy times.
It's actually crazy as we're sitting here. You guys can't see it because you're listening, obviously, but on the TV screen, it has one of those slideshows, like whenever you're not watching something, where it's just showing pictures of random places. And as we're talking, I'm looking like, been there, been there, been there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's crazy to think about all the places we've been to and the nightmares that we've been through together on tour.
yeah, it is really crazy with just you and I being on tour together, and then also with the tour crew, because just last year was one of the scariest times on tour.
Yeah, for sure.
We're almost hitting a year.
Oh, Europe
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
What about a question I want to ask you, Dad? Is like, obviously you'd been to plenty of my shows before, but do you remember specifically a show where the crowd was a lot bigger than it usually had been, and you were like, "Whoa, this is happening"? Like live show wise?
Yeah, but a thing I remember is your first show at the coffee shop in Nanaimo.
Yeah.
And we had gone out and bought T-shirts.
Oh,
Remember those white T-shirts we got made up for you? I can't even remember what it said
said
on it.
Merk mics or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
that's adorable.
and you get up on stage and you do your act, and like there's some people cheering, etc. And you know,
Very small show.
and you're throwing T-shirts out in the crowd, and I can see Mom going, huh? Because we paid for those T-shirts.
He's like, okay.
and your little show ended, and then next thing we know, you're outside signing people's T-shirts.
Yeah, and it was my first show.
You're like 15 years
well,
old.
one of
or
my
something.
first shows, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, what one like where the room was full, the lights were on, and they know every word in the crowd, and you were like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
Like
I
which
remember the one in Vancouver at the Harbor Center.
Harbor events. Yeah, that wasn't too long ago. That was
Yeah.
probably 2-3 years ago, 2018. I
And I
believe.
especially remember the one with Papa in the States there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was last year in Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the cool one for sure.
That was amazing.
For everybody listening, parents actually surprised me by my grandfather had never been to a show before, and we weren't able to bring my grandparents because my grandma just wasn't mobile enough to come to a show. Papa was, but then shortly after Grandma's passing, they came and surprised me with Papa in Seattle. I had a sold out show.
It wasn't Seattle, was it?
Wasn't it? Yeah, it was Seattle.
Was it?
And Papa came and watched the show, and it was super cool. And I had him on stage in a chair right behind me the whole time, and it was cool to just see the look on his face when one of those moments where he realized then and there too how real this actually is, for sure.
And yeah, I remember that. That was so amazing. That was so awesome. It'll be so cool when Papa can come to another show too. And
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
yeah.
You can hear Dad's wine pouring in the back.
So Mark's re-upping his glass just in case anyone wants to know.
I'm
and
following
so
suit.
is Cole. One question I did want to ask is, what was your opinion on rap music before Cole?
Had a passion for it.
Didn't really think much of it. I've always liked rock. I like some jazz. I like love blues.
Yes.
But didn't really I hadn't listened to it really.
Right.
But you do know the story about us. I remember saying to him, "Why don't you take your rap songs and write out the words, and that way you can learn the rhythms of the words and how they're written." And
when he says your rap songs, he means the ones I was a fan of, so I could learn the flow patterns and learn the words and memorize them.
Right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Which he, unbeknownst to me, he started doing, and then we were finding these lyrics on the floor, and I had forgotten that I had said that to him. And we're finding these lyrics, and they're just disgusting. I'm like, arrest these people and put them away.
I was listening at the time to Brother Lynch Hung. For those of you who know who that is, he says very crazy stuff in his music. And I was also listening to D12, and there was a Bizarre verse of all people in the group that I was trying to memorize. And everybody knows how vulgar Bizarre is too, so that's what they were reading.
What is this kid gonna start blowing up buildings next? Like, oh my God!
We're raising a monster right now.
Do we reserve him a room at the board or what? Like, just horrible.
And I remember you gave me that tape player that had playback on it, that you could record your own voice over top of tapes.
Yeah.
And I had D12 purple pills, and I would just blue and yellow purple pills, but it was Purple Hills because it was the censored version, and you wouldn't let me have you wouldn't let me have the explicit version quite yet because I wasn't old enough. So I would re-rap the lyrics over top of the actual ones, and that was like the first time that I ever heard my voice back over top of a beat or anything, which was really cool. And Dad was the one who made that happen by giving me that old tape player. And I'd just sit in the basement by myself or with a friend and just go crazy. But I remember that too. I felt like I was walking into my own intervention when they found those pieces of paper with all those lyrics on
Oh
it.
man.
So funny.
Oh my gosh, that's way too funny.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Well, one thing I want to also ask you is, if you could go back now, I want to split this into two questions. If you could go back and tell your younger self something, what would you tell him? And if you could go back and
Tell him or me? Tell myself?
tell yourself,
Tell
like your
yourself.
younger self.
Yeah.
And also, if you could go back and tell yourself, your younger self right before you had Cole, like something about like advice on being a father kind of thing.
Be prepared.
Be prepared.
I thought you were going to say, run.
Prepared.
Flush.
Oh my God.
But seriously,
It had to happen.
I know.
It had to
we had to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
On a serious note, though.
Oh God, I have no idea. I had no idea what I was getting into. I was just dumb as a post.
Yeah.
I mean, he was born. I ran out and bought spirograph games, things to make stuff, and stuff that he wouldn't use for years. Right? I was just totally out of it.
Like, yeah, this 3-year-old's going to make this science
Yeah,
project.
exactly. Like this just born baby, and here's these things.
This infant.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you could tell yourself something, what would it be?
Or if you could give a new father advice.
Yeah.
Relax. Like, I was uptight about him not going to school, etc. And
Right.
it wasn't until we started to see a psychic who basically got us to relax on that end
Right.
of things.
Right.
Yeah.
I can remember holding him in the shower as he's swinging at me and I'm trying to get him to go to school, right?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Like, I would say just relax,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And kind of like what Ma Duke said, you just trust your child, because you guys did. You guys trusted Cole with a lot of
I never
things.
trusted him at all.
Well, letting him drop out of school, you trusted that.
They didn't trust me. They
what-
trusted the process.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Now,
trust
just
the
a second, he didn't really drop out of school. I think he was kicked out of school.
Kicked out of so
Multiple
many schools, he
schools.
couldn't
Yes.
go back.
Multiple schools. I think by the end of it, I wasn't even allowed in the whole district.
And yet you look back now and you read interviews with geniuses like Robin Williams, etc., and they were all kicked out of school too.
Right.
Right?
Right, yeah.
You know?
So there's a
'Cause they're
pattern
not-
there.
Yeah, there's a different drummer.
Yeah, for sure.
Was it Robin Williams that you took me to?
Yes.
And it was super political, and I was
He,
young. so
yeah,
I
he
didn't-
did a whole bunch of stuff on Canadian political stuff, which really surprised me.
Yeah, and I had no idea what the fuck any of it meant because I knew nothing about politics. But I do remember that you smoked a big fat blunt with me right before the show, and that was the first time I ever smoked weed with you.
What the
Yes.
frick?
And it was fucking awesome.
That is so fucking awesome.
Yeah. And I, like I said, I was, and not to say that it was a bad show, I just wasn't privy.
You're so
I had
stoned
no
you
knowledge on politics, you know what I mean? So I'm like, this is probably hilarious because everyone's laughing, but I don't know what this means because I'm a kid, right?
And you're also
Yeah.
really ripped.
And I was just more happy about the fact I got him to smoke a blunt with me, to be honest.
Yeah. We smoked a blunt with Mark in Belize. And that
Yeah,
was
we
a
did.
great fucking night. He was very twisted.
I seem to remember sitting down with you and trying to tell you how, you have it really good. You get to travel all around the world, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. And then you reminded me of the fact that, yes, but it's with him.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That Belize trip was really fun, though.
Oh,
It was a
definitely.
blast.
Yeah.
That was a really great
That was the
trip.
first time the four of us went anywhere, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like on a
Yeah.
vacation-wise, at least.
Yeah, we met up in Vegas.
Yeah, at the end
We all
of
got to
of
hang
tour.
out in
Yeah, that
Vegas
was neat, yeah.
together. Yeah, and then we went
And
to
he's
Belize.
staying at the, where were you guys staying when we got to Vegas?
The Hard Rock.
The
I think?
Hard Rock.
Yeah, like quite the room.
$1,500 a night for a room.
That bougie ass room. It was awesome, but it was fucking
No, it was cool, and it was the
bougie.
first time I'd actually been to Vegas. I think for both of us, right?
No,
Not
you've
for
been
me.
to Vegas before, I think.
No, but you'd been to Vegas, and I hadn't.
You hadn't. Yeah.
Yeah, you had though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
that was your first American tour,
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, no, that's right.
which is crazy to think that I went to Vegas before you did.
Yeah, I know, because he went there on like a girls' trip or something,
Yeah,
right?
bachelorette.
Yeah, bachelorette. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, but that was,
Oh,
that was a lot
Vegas.
of fun.
Vegas is one of those places you can only spend a weekend at. It's not a place you go on vacation for 2 weeks. That's for damn
No,
sure.
it's a lot. It's too much. But it was fun when we were there. We all had a
Yeah.
lot of fun, went to the show, and
Yeah.
it was a good time.
Yeah.
And then Belize was fucking amazing after. We did 10 days in Belize, I
I
think.
think it was 10 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
Did
Yeah.
we extend our stay at the end of it?
No,
No, we didn't.
No,
no.
no, but it was good, and I'm sure we'll be going back when it's safe to do so again.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
That
never been to
actually-
Hawaii. Everybody here has, except for me.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should all go to Hawaii.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
I
love
agree. Yeah,
And
it would
Maui.
be awesome. Yeah, yeah, I'd be so down for that.
Yeah.
When it's safe to do so again, that will be our next
Yeah.
trip as a fam jam.
I got friends in Hawaii I haven't even met yet.
You have friends everywhere. But not in high places.
Yeah,
I think it would be in high places, wouldn't it?
that was good.
I got scary friends all over the world.
Okay, I think on that note, we're gonna end this episode. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast,
Yeah, no problem.
Mark. I loved having you,
Yeah.
and I love you so much.
Yeah, you too.
And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you stay safe, positive, and
Can I do
healthy.
the outro with you?
And I'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye. Something classic, something special.
For free.